What if we set every province in the world to one single culture, as well as every country's primary culture to match it? Culture plays a huge role in EU4, especially for the AI when it considers conquest, which should make for some pretty interesting things to watch here. This video idea has been suggested what feels like hundreds of times, so I want to give the people what they ask for. Enjoy. And this video is not sponsored, but I would not be able to make these videos without the kind and generous support from the people over on Patreon who get early access to all the videos on the channel, as well as access to exclusive roles and chats in the Discord. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to be a Giga Chat and support the channel, click the link in the description below and support me on Patreon. A lot of people don't know how truly important culture can be, not just for economics, but also for conquest. A lot of people just think that like claims and just like AI behavior determines conquest, but culture is actually a really big one. That's actually the main reason why you'll oftentimes see like Cuba conquering just a bunch of land in Portugal, or Colombia taking a bunch of land in Iberia. It's because they like to take lands that are in their same culture group, and those New World cultures are considered Iberian. Like a few months ago, we actually had a really funny instance where America, like the USA, conquered a ton of land in southern Italy because it was like an Italian nation had formed them. Probably one of the Colonize Please videos if I had to guess. So super funny because, you know, Italians, Sicilians, New York City, the jokes kind of write themselves. Just the normal wars to start it off: Venice attacking Byzantium, the Ottomans attacking the Serbs, the French attacking the English, and we have the Muscovites as well as the Danes attacking Novgorod because they just cannot catch a break. Okay, yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So the 100 Years' War is finished. France took Normandy as well as Gascony, and then the Pale. Dublin is a French colony, apparently. So as if England wasn't already, you know, losing to the French in the big scheme of things, now they're going to have to compete with them as an immediate neighbor because they're already at war with at least one Irish miner to take land over there. So they just lost their border with France, and now they're going to gain another one. Poetic. This happened in the last video as well. Constantinople was taken by the Turks, but all the land down here was taken by the Venetians. But Byzantium does still exist as a one-province minor in Cephalonia. So super funny. I'm a huge fan of this. Oh yeah, and of course the Serbs were for the most part occupied and annexed, and it looks like Herzegovina was annexed by Ragusa, so that happened. Tasteful bit of border war up here with a Danish South Karelia as well as a Danish Pomorai or whatever. Muscovy taking the rest, and then Novgorod just getting sliced and diced. And yeah, it looks like England is doing that Maginot, just going around France, conquering everything around them as well as north of them by the looks of it, because Scotland is now their capital, the Isle of Man, with Sutherland over here. So that's pretty good. And the big blue blob is big blue blobbing. They've eaten all of Brittany to many Bretons' dismay. And they also have pushed into Catalonia, which I feel like they don't usually do that. But I imagine the fact that they want to unite their fellow Americans, they're going to be willing to do that. Yeah, things are getting a little weird over here, especially in this general vicinity. We have the Pope, who has taken Treviso, Ferrara, which has taken Venezia. Austria has taken some land here as well as down here, but they also took some land down here. Venice has been full occupied and full annexed. They don't exist anymore. That's a thing. Saxony has been reduced to a one province minor, and their little penile looking subject of Thuringia has also been dissected. It does look like some of the hordes are maybe trying to do a bit of blobbing as well. Lots of land for them to conquer. And speaking of conquering, doesn't look like Ming feeling too good anymore. I think it's probably safe to say that Ming explosion is inevitable. So Austria got a personal union on Hungary, and then they got attacked by a massive coalition. I don't even know how this happens. This is like the biggest AI war I think I've literally ever seen in my life. They also got the Burgundian inheritance. So Austria went from being a very big, strong power to like, they're going to die. They're going to be completely dismantled. Also, I have literally nothing to say about what's happened in Iberia. Aragon just ate like a bunch of Castile. These guys up in France ate a lot more. And then somehow Morocco took land from Portugal. So did Granada. So this is a total mess. So they actually didn't really lose a whole lot in the previous wars. I thought it was a coalition, but it was actually 3 separate conquest wars that were going on. Clearly they did lose quite a bit of land over here. The Ottomans took some land over here, and Poland took some land over here. And now Austria is in another war, this time against France, Poland, and then like the Kalmar Union. I don't know what's going on or why they're being so aggressive towards Austria, but it looks like they can hold their own. So, you know, more power to them. Also, this France is absolutely terrifying. I'm in awe at the size of this absolute unit. And at a quick glance, it's really funny to see how much of the HRE is just like consolidating. We're just seeing so many little tags getting eaten up by their neighbors because they all want to, unite their fellow Americans, and they're just gobbling up their one province minor neighbors. So that's pretty funny. It definitely is going to hurt the HRE, which obviously is in shambles right now, if you could have guessed already. It's also probably going to affect reform desire, because when there's less nations in the world, and that's how reform desire is calculated, via events per country. So with less nations, there's less events that will fire. And so we may actually get a pretty late Reformation. The Age of Reformation doesn't begin until we have that Reformation. So might throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into things. And over in China, Khmer is popping off over here, eating up Tibet as well as southern China. And the northern portions of Ming are getting eaten up by Oirat and Mongolia. But somehow they're not collapsing to rebels. Not yet, at least. And then we got Mushasha over here, who is just like taking all of the Gulf. This is no longer the Persian Gulf. This is the Mushashan Gulf. The lads even went all the way down into Oman. The AI is just being so aggressive, and I really do love it. And now France, obviously massive as ever. England / Great Britain eventually has taken over everything except for Dublin. I mean, they can keep them off the island. Just declare the war, dude. Literally just declare the war. They've also somehow got some lands over here in like Holstein and Jutland. Okay, that'll probably cause them issues. And yeah, Austria is very much not feeling good. Poland has taken almost all of Slovakia and even took Budapest, snaking around the Carpathians, taking all of Wallachia as well. And then Sealy, of all people, took some land, 3 provinces from their neighbors of Austria. So that's pretty funny, but it's okay, because Austria's picked up a bit of development over here. They even annexed Treviso from the Pope, man. So good on them. No worries. We're in like 1505, and the Reformation is on its way. We have a reform desire at like 85%, give or take. But what happened to Castile? They're literally gone. They don't exist at all in this game anymore. France came down, took some land that was formerly Portugal from Morocco. Portugal came around and took some land that was formerly Castile / Andalusia / Granada. And now France is attacking Portugal for whatever. They're just trying to give a big hug to Iberia. And this could be a really good opportunity for like a rate my encirclement sort of thing if I was a Hoi 4 nerd. Meanwhile, down to the south, Morocco is like popping off, doing really good. They lost some land to Aragon, but then they've taken the rest of here, and somehow they have some land over here. I assume Jared is one of their subjects or something. Not sure what's going on with Muscovy. Whatever this is, probably not going to form Russia if I had to guess at this point. And the wars just continue for Ming, just closing in on them. So it is really funny to see Khmer, which is like Cambodia, just beating up on the Ming. It's very cool. India doing their Indian thing. Sirhind, for some reason, has not formed Delhi, which they do like 100% of the time. So I'm not really sure what that's about. Meanwhile, Mewar doing pretty good, all things considered. I think they're going to annex some land from Malwa. This is their occupation. And then Balmanis and Vijay are kind of going back and forth, but no major power to come out of India just yet. Colonization has begun for Portugal, though not sure how much of the colonization is going to be done by them, because they're not feeling too good with the French. But the silver lining, and however silver of a lining it may be, the British are colonizing. So maybe we'll see a USA with American culture. That'd be pretty cool. Though I do love this. I do love this. Canada, American culture. God bless America, right? And finally, it's only been like 60 years that they lost this land to the French. Now they're finally going to be taking it back, having the entirety of the Isles united, while their capital is sieged down by rebels. Okay. Oi, bruv, you got a license for that occupation? Yeah, and like 10 years after I pointed out, Castile is back and better than ever. Well, better than they have been, because they literally didn't exist a few years ago. But Aragon collapsed to rebels, I think, and now they are going to get a little bit of French in them, I think. And I'm just now starting to realize how goofy it is to, call people French when they're actually American French. I don't know. Is this like everybody's like Louisiana? Everybody over here talks like they're from New Orleans? Is it like everybody in Barcelona talks like there's some straight out of the bayou in southern Louisiana? That'd be pretty funny. I can imagine it being pretty funny, at least. And while we're looking at it, there is some event-changed cultures, but for the most part, I don't think it actually matters at all. We have one Xibei province over here. Very funny. Just not another one in the whole world. And then these Fulani provinces. I think those are the only ones. I think the rest is all American. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Obviously, I don't think it's going to have a large impact on anything in the big scheme of things. Oh God. Oh, no. I know that Italy is having a lot of like immigration coming from North Africa, like currently in 2023, but this is a whole nother way to explain it. Now, I don't have anything to say about this. I don't know why they've gone ahead and formed Great Britain, but they didn't take the Pale from the French when they were at war with the French. It makes no sense. Meanwhile, they've crossed over into the Low Countries, so safe to say they're making quite a bit of money from the English Channel. They also have a bunch of land up here in Lubeck, so they're probably steering a bit more. Great Britain is probably absolutely thriving economically. Not thriving, however, would be Iberia, or at least the minor nations over here in Iberia, including Ragusa. Ragusa's in Iberia with their capital over here in this province next to Lisboa. So that's a thing. Naples is also here, and yes, you are looking at that correctly. Grenada is back. They're so back. Morocco absolutely dominating North Africa, which is really cool. I like to see a little bit of that Berber representation here in a video. And meanwhile, the HRE is absolutely in shambles. The emperor, or at least former emperor, keeps on getting dominated over and over and over and over again, with Bohemia coming out primarily on top. I would say they're the major like nation within the HRE, except for Cologne, of course, because of course Cologne has to just blob out and be a monster, you know. The Reformation is here as well. They have a center here in Prague. They have a center down in Bavaria, as well as one up here in Holstein. So that's pretty cool. Like to see a little bit of a Reformation going on, and I'm sure that Reformed will be popping up here shortly, probably over this region or down in here, if I had to guess. Usually pretty predictable. The colonial front, we actually have the British down in Brazil this time around, but they're also up here in North America with the French in Colombia, as well as the Portuguese in the Caribbean, though the Portuguese are almost certainly going to get exiled eventually. But up in the north, we do have the Danes who have landed next to the British. So I'm sure they're going to be a little bit of competition over there, especially considering the fact that they are religious enemies. So I don't think that the Danes are going to be around for too long. And in the east, Ming has lost more land in the south, but has actually gained land back in the north, pushing into Oirat, who had taken some land from Mongolia because they're not subjects anymore, but then they lost it again. And it looks like they're going to lose some more land, probably to the Ming. Meanwhile, the Ming has rebels. So Eastern Asia is just a complete Thunderdome, not even worth looking at, to be honest with you, because of how messy it is. We also have a very cool unit model over here next to a generic unit model for these guys. We have Yusugi, who has conquered lots of land, and they are actually the shogun now, kicking Ashikaga out of Kyoto. So I like to see that. And while we're here, you know, I have to point out that Korea has taken some land. I'm sure that they'll probably find a way to lose it before the end of the game. That way their borders can be perfect, like they like to do so much. The British are also in the Cape. Since they annexed the Dutch, there's not going to be any Boer Wars this time around. So, you know, kind of nip it in the bud. And despite not taking back their land in the Pale, the British have continued to conquer the Danes. Really good for them, like economically. They're probably steering quite a bit of trade into the channel. I'd be very surprised if they were not filthy rich. Meanwhile, the French continue to dominate the Iberians and just chipping away at them slowly over time. I love to see Florence blobbing out. That's probably my favorite thing of the whole video so far, next to Moroccan Rome. But there's also just some weird border going on, mostly because people are much more willing to take land that is not good for borders if it is at least their culture. And the HRE is just a complete disaster. It's so bad. Austria is just gone. Austria is literally just gone. Ottomans are blobbing, and they have pushed the Mamluks out of, you know, Egypt, the Nile at least. Ajam has absolutely exploded and will form Persia. I'm like 100% sure they will. I don't know why they haven't yet, to be honest. And Balmanis has pushed down more into VJ, while Mewar is still holding steady over there, and Bengal is pretty strong over there. Meanwhile, the Ming has collapsed a little bit with Ashikaga, North China over here, and Shun has popped out as well as Wu. To be honest, they're still hanging in there. I mean, they're doing better than just like collapsing to 1 million subjects, at least at one point. And British domination in Southern America continues with a little bit of French sprinkled in over here. And yep, the Swedes have arrived as well. Can't count out Naples as well. Naples going colonial, but up north it's all British, as you would expect, with the Danes kicked out of Newfoundland. And in this episode of the Cod Wars, England won. Britain actually won the Cod Wars. Not really sure how, but 1650, and Morocco is just sitting here with like basically perfect borders except for one province going to France. A little ominous, but you know, we'll see how things go. Also, Florence continues to dominate like this region over here, obviously splitting it with France, as I would have said. But Great Britain continuing to dominate the north, still 200 years in, hasn't taken the Pale. So shout out that, I guess. HRE is just gone. It's dead. It's whatever. I don't even care about it anymore. Also, the Teutons have been pushed entirely out of the Teutons, which is very funny. Also, I'm not really sure what's happening here. Lithuania and Poland going to war, and Poland rolling through them because, yeah, the Ottomans have arrived. They couldn't go south too much early on because the Mams were pretty strong, but now they've decided to go south and north, like a John. Like, honestly, all these guys, this is very blobby areas, except for over here. This is still a mess. The Congo has united, which is pretty cool. And then Mutapa over here. And then, you know, the Brits and the Swedes and the French splitting South Africa, with one province in South America going to the French and the rest basically all going to the British outside of French Columbia and Swedish Columbia. The Portuguese lost the Caribbean to the French, and now they took a bunch of Mexico and then lost some of that to France as well. So yeah, the Portuguese just keep on getting kicked over and over and over again. Meanwhile, the British continue to dominate the east as well as over here in the southern portions. And lads, it looks like we are going to be seeing the weirdest California I could possibly imagine. And I'm pretty sure that the person editing this video right now is a Cali person. And I want to know how you feel about the idea of Swedes running your state. It's an interesting thought. So with about 150 years left in the game, we've got Great Britain out in front with France right with them. Obviously, Great Britain is going more with a colonial route and France is going the more dominate everyone around them route, but you know, you got to respect the grind either way. The Ottomans are in the third spot, actually the #1 great power after they embrace institution, with Poland behind them, but yeah, conspicuously not doing well on the development front. Balmanis, an Indian blob over there, with Morocco, a North African blob, followed by Liège with 500 development, and then Sweden, the colonial power themselves, in the 8th spot. Ajami, Alaska, got a bit of a ring to it as another person enters the colonial game, which is actually kind of stacked this time around. Obviously, you know, the British, the Portuguese, and the French are dominating most of it. There are at least a couple that have at least taken the ideas, right? We do have another one over here, the Congo. The Congo's in on the colonial game as well. How dope would it be if Congo colonized Belgium? If you know, you know. But while we're on the topic of colonization, how about Mutapa kicking the colonizers out of South Africa, except for France? They don't want to mess with France. Ajami Victoria is a pretty good one, with Portuguese Australia over here, as well as over here, and then whatever this French version taking up a bunch of the desert, the outback, basically. We do have Mutapa over here, also colonizing, very cool to see, with Ajam over here, and the rest is, you know, kind of the regular European powers. China has somehow gotten even worse than it was before, but what is much better than it was before is this, Meiwar. I love this. Balmanis' name placement kind of like arcing over the ocean. Very nice touch. And the Ottomans with pretty fair name placement as well, pushing Ajam out of, you know, Iran with Mazdaran, I guess. Europe actually looks surprisingly very similar to what it looked like 100 years ago when we looked last, with France somehow refusing to annex these guys, with one like Mutapa province in Granada. That's pretty good. Naples getting eaten up, probably pushed out of Naples by Florence, who controls a large portion of Italy, splitting it with Ferrara and the Ottomans. And of course, Ottoman Volgast. It had to happen. I do love Purple Russia, Lithuania getting exiled, mostly just into like Lithuania proper, but then also Russia. Very funny. And I have literally no idea how this happened. I have no idea how this happened. France is Anglican. Great Britain is Catholic. I have no idea how this happened. I have literally no idea. That is without a doubt the weirdest thing that has happened this run, and I have genuinely no reason to explain how it happened. I don't know. If you know, please do let me know in the comments. And aside from a couple of colonial cultures, everything is exactly the same. There is one over here in the Horn of Africa, and then a couple of provinces over here, Papuan, and then Min over here from the exiled Chinese. Overall, though, I'd say American culture going pretty strong. And when it's all said and done, it looks like the revolution had its way with both Turkey now and France, which is a little scary if you know anything about the French Revolution. But one thing that didn't change is Dublin. It is still a revolutionary French colony 400 years after the game start. I'm in awe, especially when you consider just how truly prolific the British colonial empire was. Why did they not just take one province that bordered them? Also, the colonial stuff was super weird this time around. Like, we have one random province over here from a nation that Antamoro, I guess. I don't know why. I don't know how they have it. Also, Adal decided to go colonial and took a bunch of land from Portugal, who basically is gone, if not entirely gone. Congo still has land, this time I think in like Venezuela. I think this is Venezuela. I don't actually know. Colombia, Venezuela. The borders are a little fuzzy for me. But yeah, Congo just moved down south, ate all of Mutapa, who was a colonial power who had a lot of land over here, but now it's all Congo, which this is really cool. I love to see this. Adal is like the sub-Saharan guy with Jolof and Jenne over here, but looks like Adal currently in the process of beating up on Jenne. Very sad to see Morocco get colonized by the French, but you know, it is a Morocco. It's French, right? That's kind of the thing. They got colonized by the French. Very sad to see Florence get absolutely gutted like this, especially by Poland of all people. I don't know how they stuck around with the big old Ottomans bordering them, but they did. Also, France managed to snag some land over here, and Lithuania was almost exclusively exiled to Russia / like Finland, Sweden. So very funny. Not sure how this happened, but it did. We have a lot of land for the British, especially over in Manchuria, just north of Mewar. Very, very big Mewar. Baumanis managed to continue to dominate, and French Indochina. I think I've seen this one before, definitely in Hearts of Iron at least. At the very least, I've seen it in Hearts of Iron. But it didn't stop there. The French just ended up conquering a ton of land, though I don't know how Adal ended up taking over a ton of Portuguese stuff. Like, they took a lot of Portuguese stuff. But just the way that Mewar and Baumanis just carved up all this land over here, splitting it with either themselves or the British for some reason. And this is just all crazy. I mean, France almost had 10,000 development, and they didn't really colonize a whole lot. So you can guess that that is a lot of dev in Europe. We then have Great Britain, which is almost half, which is just insane to think about. And then Mewar in the 3rd spot is so good. I love to see that so much. Revolutionary Turkey in the 4th spot, Baumanis in the 5th, Adal, an African power in the 6th, with another African power in the 7th, right below them the Congo, and Lithuania eking out great power despite being absolutely dumpstered over and over again for like 200 years. I respect that. We have an economic hegemon for France, which is terrifying, and a naval hegemon for Great Britain, which actually makes sense for once. I feel like every time I see a naval hegemon, it's like a random nation who is just doing well. This time it actually makes sense. But yeah, there's a lot of development over here. Aachen specifically sticking out. Coal provinces. All the coal provinces are going to be like the big dark green ones, or bright green ones rather. And then the rest is just like, this is Ottoman land. They didn't do a whole lot of deving, but just look at France, man. That is insane. Even Africa actually doing pretty well. Congo's got a lot of dev over here. Antamoro just sat there and devved for like a couple hundred years, which is really cool. Southeast Asia, China, Japan, Korea, all these areas very good with development. Still have no idea how it happened, but Anglican France is a thing, and we actually have an Anglican Poland over here. And I just now realized we didn't have Poland in the Great Powers list, did we? Because of course they did. France got a PU of Poland, and they force converted them, and they're loyal. This game is so good. This is a very strong case for why EU4 is the best game ever made. And the rest is just Catholic. It's literally all Catholic, except for over here, of course. Fetishist, you know, Congo, fetishists. They like feet, I guess. I don't know. And then Hindu China is really cool. I'm a big fan of Hindu China and Shia, Southeast Asia, Shia Indochina. So that's pretty good. So I think it's definitely safe to say that having all of the nations in the world be one culture, primary culture, as well as all of the provinces one culture, definitely leads to some interesting stuff. I'm here for it. I like it a lot. If you guys enjoyed this video and you have a suggestion for what you'd like to see next, like this one, which was very heavily requested, leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like on it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because there's a lot of content you're going to miss out on if you're not already subscribed. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate you, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.
Special thanks to Kaiser Dar of Acadia, Sheol, Gammas23, Ian Powell, Hannon Fodder, Josh Kopczynski, Agent Rhino, Blonde Damon, Isaiah, Rover, Bubba J, Saranska, Ricardo, Cobalt, Rex, Nathan Albright, and many more.